Look, shall we move on to the Raheem Brewster situation? Because that's the big one for me tonight. That's the one that I've been thinking about all day and wondering. Well, I knew what I wanted to say, but it was one of those scenarios where I'm trying to be mindful of what I say, because everything I say now I'd like to caveat with the fact that the window isn't closed yet, nothing has happened yet, we haven't kicked the ball or dropped the point yet, so it's very difficult for me to be on here and be disappointed in a season that hasn't started. But that being said, let me say Sky Sports have reported that Liverpool are willing to consider offers to sell Raheem Brewster. Yes, you did hear me right, folks. I did say to sell Raheem Brewster, but with the protection of a buyback clause inserted into any deal. Now, somebody mentioned this to me last night. In fact, I think somebody mentioned it to me a couple of days ago, and I rubbished it. I said you can put it in there with the Koulibaly pile and throw it in the bin. It is something that I never thought was going to happen. Now, it may not happen yet, but I'm going to go into it in more detail, and I'm going to talk about why perhaps, in my opinion, this may happen. And again, I think there's a lot of PR involved in this, and I'll talk through that as well. So the article goes on to say that absolutely everything that I've read, I should say, not the article, goes on to say, everything I've read over the past weeks, and in fact months, has suggested that there was a couple of options for Jurgen Klopp at Raheem Brewster. And you might remember just last week, there was a piece put out to suggest that Jurgen Klopp had decided that Raheem Brewster was going to stay at the club until at least January, when they then reassess whether he potentially go out on loan. And that was about as far as I had read and seen that the club were willing to do with Raheem Brewster. There was never any talk of a £20 million sale. There was one lad on Twitter who I think used to work for Sky last week that put out there that said that Raheem Brewster was available for sale for $20 million at Crystal Palace. I think Sheffield United, maybe Leeds, were looking at him. And again, I rubbish that as complete nonsense. Everything I've read, everyone I've spoken to, everyone I've DM'd, any WhatsApp messages I've got, none of them had suggested anything about Raheem Brewster possibly being available for sale. There's two ways of looking at this. People are going to come at me and say there's a buyback clause in there. It's a way for the club to free up money. Quite frankly, it's an embarrassment, in my opinion, if this happens. And another massive PR own goal. I don't understand it. I don't understand the Premier League champions potentially needing to move on what is, in my opinion, potentially a generational talent. Raheem Brewster knows where the goal is. Nobody is in any doubt about that. Raheem Brewster wants to be at Liverpool Football Club. Raheem Brewster has said even the thoughts of going out on loan to him isn't as appealing as staying at Liverpool and working with Jurgen Klopp and fighting to get into this team. And this could be the final kick in the nuts in this transfer window of what has been a very frustrating transfer window for Liverpool Football Club fans so far. Again, I'm going to caveat what I'm saying by putting out there that this window hasn't yet closed. We have until October the 5th, and the club probably will dip their toes into the market and get some business done. But that being said, we have to look at the PR side of this, and I'm always cynical when it comes to these type of things. Here's my take on it, and again, this is just a fan's take. It's not based on economics, it's not based on any inside information that I have, it's just my opinion. We've seen in this window Liverpool, first of all, go and furlough staff, and then we'd seen that decision reversed. They said because they had a rethink. We all know it was because of the PR backlash and the fans out there saying that it isn't the way we do things. We were then kind of warned that this could lead to us not having much money in the window. I'm not saying just because of that. There's obviously varying reasons with regards to where the world is at this moment in time, the lack of people being inside stadiums, so many other things, rebates to television companies and lots of other bits and pieces in between. But look, this does not look good on our football club. Somebody who we've been touting and somebody who we've been talking about as a future star potentially being available for sale with a buyback clause? Is this what we've come to? Is this what we're reduced to in this transfer window? Potentially selling Brewster. And I don't care if there's a buyback clause in there. I don't care what the buyback clause said. To me, it's ridiculous. If you want to loan out Raheem Brewster, loan him out. You'll probably receive a loan fee, and the guy goes and gets minutes. But the thoughts of putting him out there with a buyback clause, it's ridiculous. It is, and look, I know people are going to come at me and say it might free up 20 million quid. I don't care. The owner should be loaning that 20 million quid if they want to hang off for a couple of years. Raheem Brewster should either go out on loan and remain at Liverpool Football Club, one or the other. And I'm yet to find a single red that agrees with this stance on potentially selling Raheem Brewster. It is so off the wall for me that I'm still scratching my head to try and figure out how exactly we've got to this position. The transfer window, let's go back through it and work our way towards where we are right now. So the window began, and as I said, the furloughing of staff, PR backlash, fans up in arms, rightly so by the way. Then we get to the point that it could be a window where we have to sit back and we have to wait and see what happens. We have to wait and see if we can move on fringe players. Thiago seems to be waiting with bated breath to see what happens. Barcelona, which I'll touch on later on, seem to have cooled their interest in him. So he's there nailed on, waiting to become a Liverpool player. We've also heard that if that's to happen, we probably have to move on Wijnaldum. None of us want to do that, but a lot of people understood that that may be a necessary sacrifice if Jurgen Klopp wants to go out and get Thiago. And that's without mentioning Timo Werner, by the way, who Jurgen Klopp wanted. No secret, Jurgen Klopp wanted him, spoke to him, asked him to remain patient and hang on, but Timo Werner didn't want a repeat of what happened last summer when he didn't get his move to Bayern Munich, so he decided to go with Frank Lampard and Chelsea, and best of luck to him. But again, it's another kick in the nuts for Liverpool fans, another kick in the nuts for our manager who's already working miracles. Now, I'm not anti-FSG. I'm not one of these FSG out people, far from it. I can understand, and I read the Swiss Ramble thread on Twitter, very insightful, very complicated, but very insightful, and it does explain the situation. But it also explains that other clubs have had owners that have loaned them money in the short term to be able to go out and do business in this window. And that's not usually the way our owners have gone about doing it. But we are after winning the Premier League. There are certain players out there in this market now who are available for a very reasonable sum. Thiago, €30 million, about £27 million. Ismail Assar may be available for between £30 and £40 million. Patson Daka. We've got the whole Jadon Sancho scenario, which, look, realistically, none of us expected us to be dropping 100 million this summer. None of us expected us to be out there signing the likes of Kai Havertz. But to be nickel and diming around Thiago, to be going into a season knowing that we won't have enough to bring in a fourth choice centre back and we may be relying on Fabinho or Billy Cometio, we can all understand that to some extent if it brings us Ismail Assar, if it brings us Thiago, if it strengthens our hand going into the new season. It's a really difficult situation, but to me, BREWSTER is the last straw. BREWSTER is off limits as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what the buyback clause said. I don't care. You're going to have to pay a little premium on top of what you pay for the kid one way or the other. And as I said, you would get a loan fee if you loan them out. I hope so much that this is nonsense. Because Raheem BREWSTER deserves better than that. Liverpool Football Club's fans deserve better than that. The manager deserves better than that. And look, I hate being negative. I hate it. I don't want to be on here talking negatively about the owners. And I don't want to be on here complaining about our transfer business. But it's getting to a point where we're becoming a laughingstock in the market. Premier League champions. We had all talk all year about this fantastic new Nike deal that was going to be bringing us in up to potentially 80 million quid. We understand what happened. We're not idiots, but we're being taken for idiots at times. Are they testing the waters here? Or maybe the owners just putting it out there to see what the reaction will be from fans, and then if we don't sell Raheem BREWSTER, we'll all take a big deep breath and be happy, but then we'll be blindsided and distracted by the fact that maybe we haven't done other stuff in this window. I don't know, but I'd love to know your opinion on it, folks. Please do let me know in the comment section. I'm fuming, and anybody I've spoke to about this today has been fuming, because it just seems like nickel and diamond cheapskate stuff, and we should be above this as a football club. Liverpool's fans have realistic ambitions. We've always known that we're not going to be out there signing the Kylian Mbappes, the Neymars, the Messis, the Cristiano Ronaldos. We've understood that. We've understood that the club is in a position where it has to work within its means. It can only spend what it brings in, and that the owners have always wanted to run it sustainably. I get that. I also appreciate the fact that we don't want the club leveraged full of debt when something else goes wrong, and then we're in a position where we were with the Royal Bank of Scotland all those years ago before the owners came in. But it's starting to take the piss. This repetitive build-up transfer windows, let me just grab the house phone here. That's, somebody ringing the house phone. This repetitive transfer window here is, it's just not going to happen. This stuff shouldn't happen, and we should be above it. That's my take on it, and I'd love to know your thoughts on it. So yeah, please do let me know. I'd love to know. Please let me know. Sorry about the little interruption, but this is the beauty of having a house phone beside you in the gaff. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like this happens. The mother-in-law's ringing. What do? Do you answer? Right, let's get it. Look, Rob, I'm not into the FSG out stuff. That to me is a little bit too far, because as much as I'm being critical of this situation, I have a lot of admiration and respect for what the owners have done. I mean, we're talking, I'm here complaining from a position that we've won the Premier League, that we've won the European Cup, that we've won the Super Cup and the Club World Cup, we've got Jurgen Klopp. Look, you know the list. You don't need me to go through the list. But this is... It's embarrassing, ladies and gentlemen, if it's true. It's embarrassing, it's depressing, and it's not the stuff that we want to be reading or talking about before we go into the defence of our Premier League crown. It is, quite frankly, turning the club into a bit of a laughingstock in the transfer market, and it's so unnecessary. That's the funny part of all of this. If there is any funny part about it, it's so unnecessary. We know what needs to be done. We're talking about, what, 70 million quid at the most for the 2 additions that we need to bring in, and that's before we move the fringe players on. We'll talk about Harry Wilson, we'll talk about Shaqiri, Divock Origi and the others. In this window, from what I've read, we're at 3 million plus with regards to our transfer business. We got the money for moving the kid on to Reading, we got the money for Dejan Love, and of course we spent some on Kostas Tsimikas, who looks like a very good piece of business.